Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel CC UK Resin, and this is just going to be a quick fun experiment with some UV resin. I'm going to be using the Apex UV resin from the new live sponsors, Apex Resin, so check them out. And if you want some money off and you've already ordered from them before, then use my discount code CCUK to get yourself some money off. But let's get straight into this. So you may remember a few videos ago, just as a bit of fun when I was playing with neons in the snake video, I came up with this, which I think is absolutely stunning. It's an interresin jellyfish mold, the diamond effect, and I absolutely love it. But I thought, let's try something different for this video, and it should be quite a quick one. I've got some luminous blue, look at that, powder, and it still glows afterwards. Look at that, it's almost purpley, which I love. I've got the standard jellyfish mold, and I don't know if they're supposed to be used with UV or not, so that's part of this experiment. But I'm also going to play around with one of my favorite effects, and I'm hoping we'll get a different effect for in the day to what we would get at night if we're going to take this clubbing. So we're going to see if this is going to work or not. So the first plan, I'm going to put in a thin layer of this UV resin just to cover up the diamond effect. Literally going all the way around this mold. I just want a thin layer, enough to cover the diamond effect that's in this mold. So I don't want it to be too thick because I'm trying to put another technique in this as well, hopefully. And again, remember with these interresin molds, you don't want to be using any heat on them. You don't want to use a torch or anything like that. You just want to leave it to do its thing. So this is going to be kind of a layered effect. And if it works, I think it'd be really cool. And it's just something that was going through my head. So as you can see, that's just a thin layer of that UV resin. Now I'm just going to tilt it around, make sure that it goes in all those little nooks and crannies. And that'll be the first layer. Then I'm going to cure it. And again, this isn't a transparent mold, so I'm hoping that my Let's Resin lamp will have enough power to cure that layer. So that'll be the first layer. And I'm going to give it 5 minutes. So we'll fast forward past this part, but do me a favor. This channel's all about trying to grow as a community. So do me a favor. Like and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us grow. And if you can, then try and join membership. And it helps us keep creating these crazy experiments to see what effects we can get in resin. So I'll see you in 5 minutes. Once it's cured, hit that subscribe. Now I'm just having a look, and there's a couple of bits where I didn't fully cover it. So before I carry on, I want it to be quite an even layer. And you can probably just see there's a couple of bits where it hasn't quite covered it. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit more resin into those areas. There we go, I've done that, and I'm just going to cure it again for a few minutes. The good news is it seems to be curing. So even though this isn't a fully transparent mold, I think there's enough power in this Let's Resin UV lamp to cure it all the way through. Okay, so I'm just having a look. Now it's not fully even, but look, I always do the tap test to see if it's cured, so that's fine. And I'm going to do this on top of the lamp itself, just because I've not got a lot of room. So for the next layer, I want a bit of the bubble effect in here with, hopefully, some of this luminous powder. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but that's the experiment for me. So all I'm going to do is get some bubbles mixed up. And this is my bubble pot. So all this is some dish soap or washing up liquid. It's not even fairy, guys, if you're in the UK. It's a cheap brand from Aldi, so but it still gets you those bubbles. So I use these little sticks, and it just creates tiny little bubbles, which is what I want, rather than the big bubbles that you can get by blowing a straw, especially in small pieces like this. And I just want to get these bubbles pretty much ready, because this is all going to be about timing, I think, if it's going to work. And it is an if. I don't know. I love experimenting and seeing what happens. If you watch the channel regularly, you will know that. So, next stage. I've got my cup. I'm going to pour in hopefully enough resin to cover that. And at this point, I think I want that to be clear still. In fact, I don't need the cup then at this point. No, I'm going to try brushing it on. This is where, again, when it's an experiment, you don't even know what you're going to do. So I'm just going to get a thin layer again of this UV resin all the way around this mold. And this time again, I want to make sure it's all covered. Again, not too thick, but I want to make sure that I've got enough of a layer to completely cover the base of this jellyfish all the way. And I'm pretty confident that that has given me that thin extra layer. There we go. And now the next stage is the fun bit. It's the bubbles. So again, just going to mix them all up again. I want to make sure that they're as dry as possible, if that makes sense, for bubbles. And I actually like the different shapes that you can get with different size bubbles. So that's all I'm looking for, that sort of consistency. Going to grab them off the top and just put them in. All over. I want to make sure it's all completely covered in this mold. And I want to do it before they all dissipate. I think that's the word anyway. And because they will be popping as I'm doing this, and I want to make sure there's enough in there, as I say, to completely give us that bubble effect, hopefully all the way around. There we go. And then straight under the lamp, another 5 minutes. And I think that should be cured. Now, normally I use kitchen roll, but I don't have any to hand. So I'm just going to dab off all of these excess bubbles with a microfiber cloth. And you do want to make sure it's dry. And I can see the bubbles have worked. So I have got those tiny bubbles in there. I don't know if you can just make them out. But now I'm just going to whack it under there again, just for a couple of minutes, just to make sure it's completely dry. But hopefully you can just see those bubbles. And I don't know how this is going to look with the bubble effect and the diamond effect that we've already naturally got on that mold. But I'm hoping that the diamond effect will stay clear, shiny and crystally. And then once we've brushed on this luminous powder, I'm hoping at night time you'll see the bubble effect come through. That is the plan. Now, whether it works or not, we won't know until I'm done. So it's all part of the fun though. I'm happy that that is now dry. Look at that. You can just see that bubble effect. And again, it's my first time playing with UV resin in this mold, so I'm just really hoping that it has fully cured. I've never used UV resin in a into resin mold before. So there is a risk that it doesn't cure. I don't know. But we'll find out what's going to happen. So this is that luminous powder. And again, it was just from Temu, but it looks really luminous and that's why I liked it. So I'm just going to get, this is a dry sort of soft brush that I've used for sort of tiny turner powders and things like that. I'm just going to dip it in there, get a decent amount on and brush it round in all of these crevices. I want a decent layer though, because I want to make sure that if this works, we see all of those wonderful bubbles coming through. And I don't know. Again, I don't know if you're supposed to brush this on, if it will work if you brush it on, or if you're supposed to mix it in with the resin. What do you think? Let me know in comments, but that's part of this experiment for me. I just want to see if it will work. It was an idea that came into my head. I don't think I've seen it done before. So I just thought I'd experiment and see what we get. Now, as you can see, there's quite a bit of powder I'm using, because I want to make sure that if this does work, we get those beautiful bubbles popping through. And I don't want any of the bristles from the brush. That's the problem when you use a cheap brush. Again, going into these legs, just making sure that every one of these bubbles has had some of this powder. Then the question is, do I do another clear layer now, just to seal it in? I think I probably will. And then add another effect on the back. So I'm just going to get my UV torch and make sure there's nowhere I've missed. That looks pretty well covered to me. Almost like a crater effect. I love it. Maybe a tiny bit more. And look at it. It's actually still glowing, which is great. That's the effect I want. I want this to glow like a jellyfish. But I just think we'll get a cool different effect, hopefully, with that diamond effect on the front as well. And I think that's enough of that. So put my lid back on and then put another layer on, and I've just got it absolutely everywhere. I wasted some of that powder. Always goes wrong when you're filming, guys, always. So there we go, I've just cleaned my gloves. So now I'm going to put a thin layer of UV, again, just over that powder. And I'm hoping that I've left enough room for a final layer on the back. So again, just going all the way around this jellyfish. This should hopefully seal in those powders. And again, just going to go around, making sure it's got a thin layer covering the jellyfish completely. And again, the problem is now I've added those powders, will it cure? Or won't it? We're going to find out. But this is completely done in UV resin. You don't have to. Now, I would probably, if I wasn't doing it as a tutorial and specifically for UV resin, I would probably choose to back this now with normal epoxy, just because I prefer the look. But we're going to see what happens. So again, just tilting it a little bit all the way around, making sure that all of those legs have filled and got that thin layer, and so's that surface. There we go. Now that's going to go back in, and I'm picturing this is going to glow when it's done. So giving it another 5 minutes, we'll fast forward. Now I'm just going to do the tap test. That feels cured to me. And now for the final layer. This is hopefully going to add a bit of depth of colour to the back. So in the day, we've still got a cool colour. So I've got this galaxy blue, almost iridescent. I think it's meant to be a type of chameleon powder, actually, from Laura's Art Corner. Check her out as well. And as always, if you want to save some money, use my discount code CCUK. So I just want to pour enough of this resin in here to hopefully give us that final layer. And this is guesswork at this point. I think that should be enough. It doesn't have to be thick, and I don't want it to be thick because it is UV resin. The more opaque you make it, the less chance that you've got that it's going to cure. So now I'm just going to get a decent sized scoop of this galaxy blue. And I'm thinking, with it being an interference powder, it should hopefully still cure and give us a bit of sparkle in the day, as well as at night when we go clubbing or whatever, and you get all the lights on it, and it's going to create that beautiful effect. So just going to mix that around. And as you can see, it just gives you a little glittery sparkle, which is what I was after. Pretty happy with that. Now I'm going to do something else that you shouldn't do with UV resin, and I just want it to have a little bit of colour. So I'm going to go with Midnight Blue Alcohol Ink, and I'm going to go with Purplish Red Alcohol Ink from Les Resin as well. Not too much of this, but again, I just think it will give it a bit more depth in colour. Straight on there. Like so, and look at the way it's pouring, because obviously it's already cured, this resin has. And I haven't opened my Midnight Blue, so we're going to go with purple. And these are quite dark colours, so it is a risk. But I just thought it'd be cool. Hopefully it's not going to go through to the front and ruin it. But again, I just wanted to see what's going to happen. If we do this first. I'm happy with that. Ooh, and I've added way too much there because it accidentally splashed. But hopefully it's still going to work. Now with this final layer, I'm going to try and just layer it in. And give us a thin layer. Going around this edge, into the legs, and hopefully filling up this jellyfish. And as I say, I hope you've enjoyed the experiment. I hope it's going to work, because these experiments don't always, but it's part of the fun for me of resin, is seeing what effects you can get and what you can't. My worry is here that the alcohol inks that I've used are a little bit too opaque and this isn't actually going to cure. We'll find out in a second. I'm hoping that it will. And I'm hoping that we get that different effect on the front that I was after, as well as the back. Now I don't want to waste any of this, so it might as well all go in, and I think we'll be pretty much full then. And I'm loving the design on the back already. So hopefully it cures, and hopefully we get a cool design. So now I'm just going to whack that under for 5 minutes, but look at that. And I'm hoping it hasn't sort of bled through to the front and ruined the diamond effect. Anyway, one way to find out, and we'll see in 5 minutes. Do you think it's going to work? Let me know in comments. And I have just noticed both sides of this unit aren't lighting up halfway through the project. Well done, Andy. And the reason why is because I've put this on the wrong way round. So here we go. Let me just make sure that those points are touching. There we go. That's better. And there we go. Now it's working both sides. So it gives me more confidence it's going to cure all the way through. And if ever you have a problem with your lamp, check those points, those magnetic points. So 5 minutes and this should be pretty much done. And I'm excited, I hope you are too, just to see if any of these effects have worked together. It's almost 3 different layers in one keyring, and let's see what we get. I'm hoping it'll be a really, really cool piece. And again, I can see the back isn't quite level, so I might go over it again with one very thin layer of UV as well once I've done this, just to make sure it's full all the way to the top. In fact, let's have a look. So you can see that's because I've used that alcohol ink. That's where it starts to sort of come out and say, no, I'm not going to cure. But what I'm going to do to hopefully help is just put that final layer now to fill it all the way up to the top over the rest of it. And we'll see if it works. But I do want it to be a full keyring as well. So this will just help level everything out as well. And then we can demold and find out if we've got any of those cool effects that I'm hoping for, or if we just get an uncured mess, which does happen sometimes when you're playing around and experimenting with UV. More so, I find, than when you're playing around with epoxy, but it's got a lot. I've had a lot less problems since I've upgraded my lamp. So if you're having those kind of problems with stuff not curing, might be worth you looking at your lamp, and upgrading would be my advice. And I just hope I've not ruined my into resin mold as well with this piece. Always a risk. Yeah, that's pretty much doming now. So I'm happy with that. That'll be the final, he says. There. Final layer, because I don't want any of those uneven bits either. I want it to be a full piece. And that is, as I say, it's almost doming. It's slightly overlapping on those legs, so I don't think I can fit any more resin in this keyring. So under the lamp we go for the final 5 minutes. And what are we going to get? A blobby mess or something that looks really cool? I'm hoping for the latter. But don't forget as well, guys, if you can, do the channel a massive favor. If you like my content, if you like these videos, if you like any of my makes, you know, then do me a favor, like and subscribe, or just join memberships. You know, that's a great way to support us. And this was playing with those neons, and that's what gave me the idea for this. So we're going to see what happens. See you when this is cured. Right, so I'm just doing the tappy test. It feels cured. So, final stage, and I always do this with UV resin. I'm just going to take out the tray. And then I've got just some normal cold water in here, straight from the tap. And the great thing about this, watch this. Flip it over. I'm going to put that in there. Dun, dun, dun. And then we're going to water cure it, and it just makes sure that there's no stickiness or anything, and that the UV resin is completely cured all the way through. And at the minute, all I can say is I think it's cured. Just going to get rid of those bubbles, and we're going to see what we've got. I don't know at this point. Hopefully we've got a really cool piece that we can be proud of. I don't know. And it hopefully will give us two different looks, one at night and one in the day. Again, with a diamond mold, all these bubbles like to go in there, so I'm just getting rid of them, giving it a swirly around, and that should be completely cured now. And I don't know if this is going to have worked. I don't even know what these white powders are going to look like with that bubble effect. Are they going to create an effect or not? I don't know. That's the fun though when you're playing with resin. So I'm pretty confident that has now fully cured. And again, water curing is just a way to make sure that that's all fully cured. I can't see anything leaking, so that's always a good start. So here we go. And what I'm going to do is just give it a couple of minutes, but now I've done the water cure, back on that tray just to make sure it's a bit drier. There we go. Where did I put my tray? Helps dry it off without me having to wipe it too much. And there is actually a groove on these for your tray to sit in, which I always seem to miss. There we go. In you go, in the groove. Getting a disco effect now because I keep moving the magnets. If I switch it off whilst I do that. There we go. That's now in. So I'm going to take this out, and that should be fully cured. And then we're going to look at it together in a second. So that's just really to dry it off. The heat of the light should dry it off nicely. Saves me using a microfiber cloth and potentially getting hairs in it. And we're going to see what we've got. But I don't know. I really don't know if this will have worked or not. So we want to see if we've got a different effect in daylight. And then I want to see if those powders are going to shine through or not. I know they do when they're all in this tub, because if I shine the light on it, straight away, boom, and it glows. I'm hoping that I get the same effect in this keyring. And you can see it just lets off that little glow. Not that powerful though. I was hoping it'd be brighter. But let's see what we've got. Should we do daylight first? There we go. We've got some daylight in the room. So yeah, I'm not unhappy with that. That looks pretty cool. Looks like a jellyfish effect, and I've got that beautiful diamond effect for the glimmer. I think that's worked. And on the back, I've got that effect as well, which looks really cool. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that I haven't wrecked my mold, which is the most important part. it's all fully cured. There's no loose resin or anything like that, even with those alcohol inks and everything. So this is in the day what it would look like. And to me, that looks like a jellyfish, you know, looks pretty cool. Now the real question I've got here is now, when I shine the UV on it, so simulating sort of nighttime, are we going to get that glow? And are we going to see the bubbles? Can't really see the bubble effect, and that's probably because I've used the diamond effect mold, but you can see that glow. And if I take it away, look, it still glows a little bit, which is really cool. I'm just going to charge it, I suppose, for a second with the UV light, and then we're going to see if it naturally gives us that glow. Look at that. You can just see, and it's not pitch black, unfortunately, because of the sun. Let's charge it again. Try and show you the effect on camera. Look at it. You can see that glow coming through. And again, on this side as well, I think it will a little bit. Not as much, actually, on that side. This side is the glowy side, which is what I wanted, actually. In fact, let's charge it under there. Look at it. Look at that glow. So I think it's worked. And I quite like the way it looks in the day as well with that diamond effect. So let me know what you think. I think it's been a great success. Just a cool little UV project using some different materials and that jellyfish into resin mold. So let me know what you think. As always, like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to turn this into a key ring, and I'll see you on the next video.